We'll go ahead and call the Sandy City Council meeting to order. And let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you don't mind.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just roll call, please.
Yes, Counselor Mayton.
Present.
Counselor Smallwood.
Absent with the reason.
Okay. Counselor Sheldon.
Here.
Counselor Ramsayer.
Here.
Counselor Hanley.
Here.
Counselor Hokinson.
Absent with the reason.
And Mayor Walker.
Here. Very good, thank you. Are there any changes to the agenda? Other than the one noted, okay, all right. Well, we've got a wonderful group here tonight, so we are here to have a police award to community member Ashton Rollins. Chief, go ahead and take it up from here.
Come on up, Ashton. All right, so Ashton, I got a couple letters here that were written, one by Officer Quentin. Officer Quentin nominated Ashton for an incident that happened on August 7th. On this night in particular, individual stabbed in the neck in an assault with a knife. About 1 minute later, a 911 call was placed and members of the Sandy Police Department were dispatched to arrive to provide assistance. The victim had received critical life-threatening injury to his neck. It was approximately 6 minutes from the time of the stabbing when officers arrived and were able to provide assistance. The scene was identified as being tumultuous and chaotic. It was noticed by Officer Carter that Ashton remained calm. Ashton provided life-saving aid to the victim by maintaining pressure on the wound until officers could relieve him. Ashton further assisted by keeping others on scene calm so that the officers could continue life-saving care to the victim. Ashton also relayed instructions from first responders. Ashton's ability to stay calm and provide assistance ultimately helped save a life that day. Sandy Police Department is proud to recognize our citizens that display courage in such events. Thank you, Ashton, for representing your community in such manners. So we went ahead and had this certificate made for you as well. Little plaque, you can hang it on your wall at home. Awesome, thank you.
So you in the middle here
Let's get a
and
picture.
with the city seal in the background there.
We'll get one right here. Sorry. You're right, you're fine right there. All right, jeez.
If there's any family members that.
Yeah.
Want a picture with anybody else? Pops. Yeah, Pops, come on up.
So I'm way up here. I heard an old deacon say that as he was going up to the pulpit one day.
Right over here. All right.
I'm proud of it.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
friends and
Happy
family,
city
you
of Sandy.
guys are welcome to stay if you want for the meeting, but you guys are free to leave now and like, thank you much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
The chief, I have multiple copies. How many do you want?
Just one for the mayor and one for him.
Okay. So that's his.
Right. Guess I should go on the mic, huh?
We can pick you up. That's okay.
Oh, okay. So the next item on the agenda is swearing in Officer Casal. Okay, just come on over here. Raise your right hand, please. I, Jamil Kasab,
I, Jamil Kasab,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly swear I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Oregon
and the Constitution of the State of Oregon
and the laws therefore.
and the laws therefore.
and I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
and I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
discharge the duties of a police officer
discharge the duties of a police officer
during my continuance therein to the best of my ability.
during my continuance therein to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
All right,
Thank
thank you very much.
You guys are quite open.
I have a chance to stick.
Video.
Thank you so much.
Sure. So come on up.
Yeah. Also get one with the chief too.
I don't know about
Sees me every day.
All right, say cheese.
I'm gonna brand this.
There you go. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Chief, can you ask him to sign one of? It could be this, whichever one.
Watch your son. Sign both of them.
No, well, that one, we'll use this one as the initial
You didn't like my signature on
one. I just need one. That way, it's perfect. I'll get the chief later. Excellent. Thank you. Sure.
Thank you, Officer.
Thank you.
Saab. Welcome, Sandy.
Thank you, appreciate
Good
it.
to have you on board.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is public comment. And we have one person here extending thanks for the grant, Pamela Skellinger.
Just stand up here.
Oh, can you come up to, because
Sure.
otherwise people on the Zoom stuff can't hear you. Welcome.
Well, thank you. I'm a resident of Sandy and I work at the Sandy Historical Society Museum. And it is my pleasure to come in front of everyone that was responsible to thank you for. We received the City of Sandy Special Services Grant Program, and that is going towards supporting us in new exhibits and exhibits to come. So it really helps the museum. We also would like to invite all of you to our ribbon cutting. It's Unfolding New Chapters, November 4th at 4 o'clock. So again, I know I probably have 13 minutes, but I just wanted to say thank you very much from all of us. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Okay, are there any other folks that would like to comment?
Yes.
Okay, anybody on Zoom?
We didn't have any signups today.
Okay, very good. Okay, so our agenda for this evening is we have the
Mayor, may I
lots of
interrupt you?
previous comments. Go
Oh,
ahead.
I was gonna,
Okay, yeah, go ahead and.
sorry to cut.
No,
cut in
go
there.
ahead and let's hear the response to previous comments.
Yeah, so there was three comments at the last meeting. Mr. Brookhart, who commented on some wastewater discharge options, discussed that concept with the council, and the hauling of waste isn't quite feasible just with the number of gallons per day that we need to haul. The following two comments were related to some parking and street issues near the Lutheran Church on Pleasant Street. Staff, I'm gonna look this way, not this way. Staff is working on reviewing the materials that you all submitted at the last council meeting. There's several different options that were sort of high level considered on our end as far as implementing a fix. Those included parking permits, which I think may be a little more tricky to implement and actually monitor on an ongoing basis. There also was an analysis done on the amount of street parking and where we can put some no parking signs or paint the curb red to prevent any parking. That probably has the strongest legs from our perspective. We just need to make sure that the townhomes that are on the north side of Pleasant still have adequate street parking available per the municipal code, and we're evaluating that currently. So we don't have an official option sort of designated yet, but we are diligently working on trying to get that resolved for you all so that that bus can get down there and your kids can get on and off and get to the daycare and be safe and prevent the crossing. So we have, we're working on that this week. Hopefully we'll have a sort of a preferred alternative that we can move forward with early next week or so. And then depending on what that alternative is, ordering signage and things like that. So still a couple weeks out before the final solution is implemented, but we have heard the concern. I think the police chief would agree with that concern when they're trying to get some patrol vehicles in and out at a quick pace. So we're looking forward to getting a solution implemented so it works for everyone involved.
Great. Okay, thank you. So our agenda for this evening, our consent agenda has the meeting minutes from October 6th. The Sandy Transit Clackamas County intergovernmental agreement, an economic development grant application and a report, letter of support for that. And finally, the Winterfest declaration. Then we've got on the agenda itself, we've got new business of municipal judge Brisbane's retirement and the process of refilling that very important position. And then also a resolution 2025-38 for city manager grant application authority. And a report from their city manager, followed by committee council reports and staff updates. So let's go ahead and get started with the consent agenda. Has everybody had a chance to read through there? And are there any questions?
I'll make a motion. If there's no questions, I'll make a motion that we accept the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilor Sheldon and a second from Councilor Hanley to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote nay. Motion passes. Thank you. New business, municipal judge retirement.
Judge Brisbane, if you want to come and have a seat up here to participate. So Mayor and Council, we're going to do a little bit of a 2-for-1 special here. The main, objective I have this evening is to get some buy-in from you all on the municipal judge recruitment process. But a close second to that objective is to recognize Judge Brisbane for her 3 decades of service in Sandy. 1995, I believe you started your work here. And you have an official retirement date at the end of this year, January 1st, I guess, technically, but it's coming to an end. I'll give Judge Brisbane a few minutes to say anything she wants to say, but I will say in my 10 years of working here, you have been a great partner to manage the municipal court. I've witnessed the mass amount of papers that you used to process every court date to a very slim few pieces of paper on our paperless project that we have implemented. I just appreciate your judicial authority that you've exercised here. Right? It's been fun to watch and fun to work with you. It's also been fun to see the occasional wedding that you get to throw down here on a Monday. So thank you for your time and your service. I do have a little gift for you on behalf of the city council.
Oh, thank
Nice
you.
picture of Mount Hood from John's Review Point. And
Thank you very
a
much.
little plaque on there for you.
Oh,
So
thank you.
thank you for your time and Sandy.
Thank you.
Any comments that you want to share with the council?
I don't usually sit on this side of the dais. So maybe I can appreciate how people feel when they're on this side. Well, I think that Tyler wanted me to talk about what the court process is and what we do in municipal court too, in addition to my own personal story. I we were talking while you were in your executive session. Judge Kathy Steele was the judge immediately before me. She wanted to do some pro temping in circuit court. You can't be a circuit court judge and a municipal court judge. So she recommended me for this position, and I've been here ever since. She then went on to be a circuit court judge, and she just retired in July. So we are colleagues. I was 45 when I started, and I'd been in private practice and working in the criminal justice system in the juvenile and adult system, mainly in Clackamas County, for about 14 years. And I'm giving you that information so that if you're on the interview committee, you'll know I didn't have any previous experiences being a judge, but I had been in many courtrooms every day of the week, multiple different courtrooms. So I had a good idea of the judges that seemed like a good fit for the position. So I tried to emulate that during my time as a judge. Everything that we do in court is controlled by Oregon laws or the Oregon Constitution, other civil type rules, and of course, federal laws too. But here in Sandy, it's mainly going to be Oregon state statutes that control what we do. We hear violations and also ordinance violations and regular violations, mostly traffic. Violations are cases that expose the person to a penalty of a fine, sometimes a driver's license suspension in addition, but mostly fines, as opposed to misdemeanors or felonies where a person's exposed to jail or prison. So we're doing fines only. We also have the council has approved through the ordinance process here that low-level misdemeanors can be cited as violations at the discretion of the police officers, and that's the policy of the police department. But for example, criminal trespass or a low-level shoplifting that's a theft 3 of a low amount, $10 or $20 or less, can be cited as violations, and the person then would appear in front of me and they would be exposed to the penalty of a fine. These are mainly cases that the DA wouldn't take up and charge because of the low-level situation. But mainly it's traffic violations, and you saw Officer Kasab here. We're familiar with him. He's worked in other jurisdictions locally, and I've already seen some of his citations in court at arraignment. And as Mr. Deems indicated, our technology's improved. When we first started, everything was paper and pencil or paper and pen. We had to mail everything to DMV after we filled out the paper. Now I just use a computer down here. I don't even have a clerk down here. We have an officer that works in the courtroom with me to keep control and order. And I just send a message to Courtney, the court clerk upstairs. And when the person goes upstairs to finish up their case, she knows exactly what to do because I've entered my court order electronically. And the officers file their citations electronically too. So we don't have to have somebody hand enter the data once it's here. We have court sessions 2 times per month. We start with arraignments, which is a first appearance. If someone does not mail in their not guilty or guilty plea, they can appear in person if they want to. They can do it in person, or they can just come and give an explanation for what happened. So we have that docket first, and then it's followed by trials. A trial is a contested hearing where a police officer presents the case for the city. And the police officer also presents cases even if there are attorneys representing the defendants or violators. So there's not a city attorney that's needed because the officers are well trained and they can present the cases. Then if the finding's guilty at trial or the person pleads guilty or no contest, a fine is ordered, and then the fine is dispersed. So the first $50 of every fine, according to Oregon law, goes to the state of Oregon. The next portion is the fine that stays with the city of Sandy. And then the final $16 of every fine that's collected goes to the county. And the county uses that money for the jail, security at the courthouse, the circuit courthouse or justice court, and also supports the custody arrangements for juveniles, drug and alcohol programs, and that type of thing. And that's the last $16 if the fine's fully collected. So if a class, there's an A, B, C, D violation. If it's a B violation, the city gets about $200 of the $265 presumptive fine. The fine can go up to 1,000, but usually the fine stays at the 265 level. So that's about what the summary of what we do. It's been an honor to work here all this time. My husband was a school teacher at Sandy High when I was judging here, so sometimes a student would get a ticket and ask him what his wife was like in court. Anyway, we worked together. He was a good support for encouraging students to follow traffic laws. So I think that's my summary.
Yeah, so Judge Brisbane also is the Justice of the Peace and manages Clackamas County Justice Court. So kind of all angles and all issues of things in Clackamas County. So you have a wide range of experience and firsthand knowledge of
Right.
what's
And
going on.
the reason I can work here is there's an intergovernmental agreement between the county and the city, which allows me to hold two positions.
So the intent of this work session this evening, or not work session, but agenda item this evening was to, one, say thank you to Judge Brisbane, two, get kind of her feedback and just better understanding to the council of what we do in our court. And the third objective is to review a process for filling the municipal judge position. So there is an RFP in the packet this evening. It's a template that I received from another city in Clackamas County that sort of just went through a similar process, tweaked some things in there that more align with City of Sandy's practices as far as timing of, when municipal court is held, a reference to our city charter that outlines the scope and the work of what the judge can and cannot do. And so happy to answer any questions about that RFP or go into more detail about what's included in it. Happy to turn it over and let the council ask any questions of Judge Brisbane on process or key attributes that might be important during a recruitment or anything like that she may be able to shed some light on or just other general discussion.
Judge, it's an honor to meet you.
Thank you.
I've lived in Sandy and raised at least two of my daughters here for over 20 years, and I've never seen you before, so I feel.
That's good.
Very thankful. That's one, thank you for your service. More just for insight, can you tell us about how many cases you would handle and how often you handle them? Is it a daily? Is it a weekly? Is it a monthly?
So I'm here 2 times per week on Monday afternoon. So when you're not in session, I'm
Times per
here
month.
2 times per month. I'm sorry. Yeah, 2 times per month when you're not here in session. So I have the other Monday. And it's from 1 till we're done
Okay, and how many?
right now. About how many cases we,
On average.
well, we probably see 20 to 30 people for the first appearances, and then we do maybe up to 8 trials.
Just for context.
We issue more citations than that, or I should say the police
Right.
department issues
Yeah.
more citations than that. Oftentimes someone will just plead no contest and make their payment at the counter or over the phone or online. So there's quite a few that know they're guilty. Maybe guilty is not the right term, that plead no contest for several reasons and just pay the fine and take care of it. And that can all be done and handled with the court clerk or any other front counter staff upstairs.
Right.
But
They don't
judge-
have to see the judge.
But you're always here on those
Mhm.
Mondays to answer questions. Oftentimes, we do have individuals that don't like the answer they get at the front counter, and so they want to come before the judge, and the answer is usually the same, you plead no contest or we're not guilty and request a trial. But yeah, so there's probably
And
80-ish.
yeah,
citations
and if
per
there's,
court
yeah,
date.
and if there's a fine reduction that someone's eligible for because they have a good driving record and it's a traffic violation, the judge and the clerk have the same schedule. So you can't go to the clerk and say, I want to see the judge and think you're going to get a better deal. Because you need to support your staff. Well, for one thing, you need to support your staff. You need consistency.
So as far as internal operations go, I think we have a pretty, we've had a very similar schedule for
Ever.
forever. We have not gone through a recruitment process in forever also. I'm not sure was it Judge Steele that was before you?
Mhm.
I don't know what that recruitment process looked like, if there was an RFP or if that was some other
There was no recruitment for me.
And so it's been decades
But
since we've
that-
gone through
yeah.
this. So happy to get any feedback from you all on process. I will just add one more point that, the charter indicates that the city council appoints a city manager, appoints a municipal judge, and appoints a city attorney. So I'm sort of trying to help facilitate this, but this is your hire, for lack of a better term. And I will be as involved or uninvolved as you would like me to be. But wanted to get this RFP in front of you as just sort of a starting point to make sure you're kind of in agreement, want changes, whatever you'd like to talk about.
Judge Brisbane, what would benefit the next person coming into your position? What attributes would go well with what you do here on a monthly basis?
A knowledge of criminal practice, because for violations and crimes, the same processes and procedures are followed. So someone with a criminal defense background. So prosecutors are going to be full-time usually. If they're working for the county, they can't do anything else. So you're more likely to get people that are in the private bar. So they would only be able to do the criminal defense work. Just want to make sure the judge switches over from being a defense attorney to a judge, which is important because you have to be neutral. You have to listen to both sides and make a decision.
Thank you. Also, just on a personal note, I moved here in Sandy about the same time you started,
Mhm.
and I also have never met you, so it's a pleasure. I'm glad it's tonight.
There's still time.
Stop.
We've got 10 more weeks with you.
So there could potentially be, so there are a lot of, there's 12 municipal courts in Clackamas County. And some people are judges in one and prosecutors in another and a defense attorney in another. So you might get someone like that. Those would all be people in private business or private practice.
What do you think would be the best fit for here? Do you have a preference?
No, I
No.
wouldn't have it.
Okay.
I think you have to interview and make a decision. But the knowledge would be important.
Thank you.
Counselor Hanley, you have any questions?
Not yet. I also have never met you.
Nice to meet you. Okay, I know one person
I
here.
was just, I've met you many times.
Rich.
In fact, like 15 years ago, I actually, as part of my training process, bailiffed for like 2 weeks in her court, so I learned a lot from her. I don't really have any questions other than, I'm sure if you have people that would be potential good fits, knowing the city and being here such a long time, it would be awesome if you nudged them to apply, and that would be, I think your input and your recommendation would go a long ways. Cause I really,
I know there's some younger people involved that are interested, but I don't know them. I know you're gonna get some of those people and the more experienced people that I know. So what happened to me is when the governor appointed me to reestablish a justice court in Clackamas County, it became obvious that it was going to be a full-time position. And so in 2010, I closed my private practice, and ever since then, I've been a full-time judge. So as a result, I'm not going to the various courthouses and meeting all the people and the younger attorneys and things like that. So I wouldn't have, except for the ones that appear in front of me, wouldn't really know all the people at this point. But I know there's some people that have contacted the city already that are interested.
congratulations on retirement.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
Well, I would also join the crowd that I've never had to appear before you, thank goodness. I wanted to just really thank you for 30 years. You're probably one of the senior folks at the city of Sandy. Andy, do you know offhand? Is she 1995? Who? Not too
I
many
don't
other
think
folks
there's
have
anyone
been there as long as
else.
that. Do you remember?
I don't know if we have anyone over 30 years. We used to.
We had some rivals before.
Yeah.
We've got a couple that
Makes me an old
are
person.
late 90s or exactly the year
Yeah.
2000.
Yeah,
Um,
so you're
it's-
senior. So
Yeah.
but I think that our community of Sandy has really benefited from having you and the consistency and fairness and history and experience that you bring to the job. And so we really appreciate all that hard work.
Thank you.
finding the right decision to make to be fair and to serve justice for our town. So really thank you for all your hard work and
Thank you.
congratulations. in
Thank you.
retirement.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
We're
Thank
sad
you.
to see you go. I mean, I'll get to see you a few more times, but.
Probably go
Yeah.
kicking and screaming, you'll have to boot me out. Actually, what happened is, there's an age limit on judging, so that's made my decision.
Okay. Well,
I'm not leaving because of another reason.
we've all benefited, so thank you.
Yeah,
so
thank you.
much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Bye.
Do you think the council is comfortable with the RFP? Should we
All right, that's
proceed?
what I was just gonna ask, are there any other suggestions on the RFP? The one question I would have about, is there kind of, and just hold on, if you could, please, Judge, is there any, coordination or interaction that you have with, the police department as kind of a discussion about interpretation of law and, how it gets applied? I mean, is there any of that goes on? You could answer too.
So Your Honor, I've had the privilege of being on both ends of that after court. Judge Brisbane has always been very fair, very honest. And in times that myself, I have lost a traffic trial, she takes the time after trial is completed to educate you on why the decision was what it was.
Okay,
So in my opinion, I would love to have in that next person that relationship, because you can't learn anything unless the judge is willing to share with you. And, having a lot of young officers like we do now, she's already taken that opportunity on a number of occasions to sit down with those officers and educate them on how to testify, the order of testimony, and the different nuances. And Judge Brisbane is always very aware of what the defense attorneys are bringing to the table each time at trial.
Mhm.
And they always have the new thing that they're going to challenge. So yeah, that communication, training, education is very important.
great.
So.
All right.
Right, since the police officers are presenting their own cases for the city, they need to know, what is required to prove a case. This is a great training ground because they're gonna be over in circuit court on felonies and misdemeanors, and so the experience that they get in court is important. And really, I think that this is a good place to learn. It's a traffic violation if you missed an element that you were supposed to present, you're never gonna forget it the next time. And it's not the end of the world. This is a fine. It's not like you've committed a murder or something like that. Right? So I think we have a good relationship. If anything comes up, we always are in communication with each other. Right?
Ma'am, I do have one question that maybe you could weigh in on. There has been discussion in regards to technology-based speeding or radar or light enforcement, the cameras. Given the current workload of the judge, what would you? I can't think of anywhere in the county that would go before you that has that currently.
The county, so
In
only
justice court.
only
right?
cities can have photo.
And
red
so
light.
none of them coming through your court, right?
You can't do it as a county. So no, they're not.
Is-
So justice court is a state court, but it's operated by the county. Circuit court is a state court operated by the state, and then the municipal court here is operated by the city. Cities can have photo radar and photo red light. Counties cannot. So I don't know if there are other cities in the county that are doing it, but they're not coming through justice court.
Would you have any thoughts or opinions on the impact of those being issued in Sandy? Would that,
You mean the
given your
workload?
current
Is the workload-
caseload, the way things are now, instituting that, would that have an effect on, I mean, obviously it would have more cases, but would it have a detrimental effect or overbearing effect on our court if we were to do that?
I think it would mostly affect the staff
The staff?
because they have to set everything up for court.
You have enough time currently to
Mhm.
get all your trials
Mhm.
through and everybody's being seen in a
Mhm.
timely manner and all that? Okay.
And I think if you're doing photo red light or radar, you have to bring, if someone wants a trial, you have to bring someone in from the company at trial. There's time on the judge's end to do the arraignments and the trials. But it's gonna add workload to the court staff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's certainly part of our analysis as we
Yeah. There's
explore that.
any other chat comments on the RFP?
Because I think on a photo radar and red light, if you find out later that you got the ticket because they're mailing it to your home, and many people don't live at the address that you have on file for them, they can object for up to a year. So that's another factor to consider. Some people are going to come back later. I mean, there's all kinds of ins and outs. Husband and wife own 2 cars, they register the car in different names and then they drive the opposite one. So they're never gonna get one of those tickets. Or so I've heard.
Right now, so just.
Like 35 years of experience.
I haven't heard any of those cases, but I have heard other people talk about those.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Judge.
Thanks for the artwork.
Of course.
Appreciate it. So Mayor, I had outlined in the RFP, not to jump ahead, but there's no questions on the actual RFP itself. I had outlined a proposal of 2 council members and then a couple of city staff to review the RFPs as they come in. Certainly, again, don't want to take away any of the, authority and responsibility of the council, but I think that initial review might be helpful to have those of us that work on a day-to-day basis with the judge, reviewing and making sure that criteria is met. And then as far as interviews go, that could be with the council as a whole, or you could select a smaller interview committee as well and just make a recommendation to the council. So I can tweak language in that RFP to support either of those or a third option if there's something that sounds better. But given that the police chief, myself, and the finance director all work very closely with the judge on a day-to-day basis, it seemed reasonable to have us included at least in one step of the process to make sure that we had some good feedback and eyes on candidates.
Now, the only question I was gonna ask you was utilizing existing Tyler Technologies in-code court software to
Yeah,
review cases and enter judgments. Is that either you or?
that's neither Tyler Wallace nor myself. That is a separate.
There
that's
are
a
3
third-
Tylers on the staff.
third
One is
party.
a software
We
program.
also have
It was you, huh?
The child of our police chief is Tyler. Fun fact, we were transitioning to Tyler Technology software when I interviewed for my position. And I made a not funny joke to Nancy and Abnett, who was on the interview panel, about how, well, it was only fitting that you hired me because your software is named after me. I don't know if she remembers that terrible joke that fell very flat, but I certainly do. But it worked out,
You got the
so.
job.
Okay. Yeah, I like the idea that, if there's a way to kind of incorporate that feedback to our officers after the fact to help educate them. I think that's really critically important for them to gain experience. So that seems like a really good option. And then I was gonna ask, is anybody interested in being on the review committee?
I know you're looking at me. I have a feeling I might have worked with or know several of them, so I'd almost prefer to not.
Okay,
I'm really limited with time right now, so
okay,
probably not.
okay.
What kind of time commitment will it be? Do we have any idea?
Yeah, so I'm hoping for a rather quick turnaround, depending on how the rest of this discussion goes. We will advertise or publish the RFP this week with proposals due on or around the 14th of November. And then looking to select finalists the week of November 17th and then conduct interviews that first week in December.
Are you all gonna do the finalists?
Yeah, so my thought was, let's say we get 8 applicants, we would recommend the top 3 candidates, or up to 3. I mean, if there's only 2 that meet the minimum qualifications or something, we certainly wouldn't recommend more than that. But try to have it be a more manageable number. And then if it's the full council conducting the interview, 45 minutes per interview, we could schedule that before or after a council meeting or incorporate that interview. Depending on if it's the full council or just a subset of the council that's then making a recommendation. So,
Yeah.
but I guess to more concisely answer your question, Counselor Ramsdale, trying to get something finalized before the middle of December so that we can work out a contract and get them appointed and take over.
Yeah, so it's like the
January
first
1st.
week of December for interviews and then making the decision.
Yeah.
At that. So it sounds like it's just a 1 day.
It'd be a
interviews
1 day
type of
commitment,
thing.
yeah.
And then if we, whether we do that as a council as a whole or a sub-council, then we would adopt it as part of the council, so.
I mean, alternatively, yeah, again, I'm just kind of brainstorming out loud here, but if there's not the availability or available time for council members to serve on the selection, we could have the police chief, finance director, and myself work as the selection committee and then just recommend those top 3 finalists, and then the council conduct those interviews of those 3. To kind of streamline that process a little bit if there was interest in doing that. I just want to make sure that you all have,
Yeah.
buy-in and
Should be willing to help.
I'd be willing to serve on the subcommittee.
okay.
I don't know that having 2 new counselors on a subcommittee would be anyone's best interest.
I did ask Counselor Hokinson. And he said. If we need someone, so let's, I'll get back to you on, just reach out to him. And it'll either be her and me or her and Dawn.
Okay. Let me ask one more question then. Assuming we get to a top 3 finalists, does the entire council want to participate in the interview process of the top 3 finalists, or would you like to have a smaller subcommittee that then just makes a recommendation to the council?
I think it'd be a good idea for, unless the agenda is gonna be super heavy that day, that it be incorporated into. 6 o'clock work session or something, maybe I could knock it out, and, if you're looking there right down to 3. I can't see the interview being more than a half hour.
It shouldn't be.
20 minutes.
I mean, it's gonna be, they meet all the minimum qualifications, they have the required experience, are they answering questions that you believe leads them to be an honest person with integrity, or do you have questions about, I think that the interview itself will go relatively quickly.
Okay, let's do that. Let's go
Okay.
ahead and we'll refine it down and then do the
Yep.
council interviews
Perfect.
with the work session.
And then I don't have a draft contract in the RFP. We'll work on, negotiating whatever sort of fee for service they provide in the RFP process. But one thing that I do plan to incorporate with the approval of you all is some sort of an annual check-in with the judge. Judge Brisbane had been here for 30 years. I'm not sure there was ever an opportunity like this just to check in on how the court's doing, what's the volume of work, how are you, what's going on, what do you need? And so trying to incorporate some sort of annual check-in or review or whatever you want to call it, just to make sure there is some face time between the 7 electeds and the appointed judge. So if there's no issues with that, I'll incorporate some language to that effect.
Would it be appropriate to sit in and on court one of these?
Absolutely, it's open. I have in the past, just come down and watch just to learn and see how it goes. I know the
Chief
mayor-
will give you a ticket.
You can pay to come if you really want to.
No, it's good, and you kind of need to be here at 1, because I got here like a couple minutes
Is it
after
in here?
2. It is.
Yeah.
And that's why she was joking about usually sitting up here, and like when I got here a few minutes after 2 the other day, because I wanted to sit in, and they were all done, they didn't, I guess everybody had done the arraignments and didn't choose trial.
Yeah, so the judge sits where the mayor sits. And we fold down all those monitors so you can see her, because it's a little bit challenging with all the technology in your face. And we have 2 tables set up here for the officer and the defendant. We have a bailiff that's over in your area, Counselor Mayton, that, as the judge said, keeps order in court, helps facilitate any, technological issues or running up to the court clerk if something is needed. It's a pretty tight ship that Judge Brisbane runs both here and at Justice Court. Relatively smooth process. I mean, the staff have been here for a long time. They know what to expect and know how to run it. So it's a well-oiled machine for the most part.
She has a dress code.
She does. No flip-flops, no tank tops, no gum, no cell phones,
No hats.
no hats. Thank you.
As court should be.
Yep. All right, well, I have what I need.
Okay, well, good.
We'll keep this plugging along and we'll follow up with the mayor and get those, the second subcommittee member identified here in the next few days and.
I do need a motion. If I could.
Yep.
There's a motion suggestion language in there.
I got it, Mayor. I move to approve the municipal judge recruitment process as outlined in the meeting packet and authorize the city manager to begin the process.
I will second the motion.
Yeah, motion from Counselor Layton and a second from Counselor Ramsayer to approve the municipal judge recruitment process being done by the city manager. All those in favor, vote aye. Aye. Opposed, vote nay. Motion passes. Okay, the staff resolution for city manager grant application authority.
Thank you, Mayor. So tonight you have resolution 2025-38 in front of you. It's a resolution to authorize city manager grant application authority. The short story here is that oftentimes we are presented with grant application opportunities and they require either a signature from the highest elected official or some sort of council support or documentation that proves that I have the authority to sign the grant application. Most of the time, that's not a huge issue, but oftentimes, or sometimes we find ourselves in a really tight turnaround that doesn't align with council meetings. Or we just find out about it really late in the game and we want to get our hat in the ring and don't have that letter of support or documented approval from the council giving me that authority. And so this resolution is doing just that, extending the authority to me to apply for grants. It does not remove the obligation of council authority on grant approval or expenditures of grant funding. This is really just that first step in, we're applying for a grant. We need the highest elected or someone else to sign off on it. And so it'll just help us streamline those processes to make sure we don't miss any grant opportunities or run into any difficult timelines. And then, of course, any sort of grant agreement or other, legal document later on in the process would come before the council as they do now.
Any questions? I would just say, since I'm kind of very experienced at doing grants, is that, yeah, having that authorization up front is very important because they all require that. So that resolution would get probably attached to a grant application. And then letters of support from the city council with my signature or, speaking on behalf of the whole city council is usually a good thing to have so that the granting agencies know that the city council supports the grant or the effort, whatever it is that we're getting the grant for. I know some of this, I'm being a last minute Lucy grant writer myself. Nancy Nabnett was also, she was last minute Linda and I was last minute Lucy. But it is, sometimes you just learn about these things kind of at the last minute or there's not a huge window where you have to get a lot of information pulled together. Anyway, it would, I think, help to have as soon as you're going to go for a grant, at least putting that in the weekend update, just to let us know that it's being applied for so that we have that information. There has been probably one grant in the past that I wouldn't have probably supported moving forward on. Don't need to talk about what it was, but it's just something that, most grants are wonderful and they're, I don't want to say free money, but they're definitely important at stretching our city dollars to go as far as possible. And we've been hugely successful at getting a large amount of grants. The other thing I would also ask is that there are so many grants out there. And it's helpful to look at kind of the major projects that we have or the major needs that we have to fund more police equipment or whatever it is. And then try to kind of anticipate, when you're doing your budget, what grants might be viable for that kind of thing, and just do a little grant planning, and so that somebody can be working on, okay, here's the timeline for the grant, so you don't end up being the last minute Lucy, like I've been in the past where everything's kind of a scramble, and so it's just helpful to kind of anticipate the grants and be able to ask the questions of the staff that are overseeing the grants and get them. The more involvement you have with them, the more usually the more helpful they are and more supportive they are of you getting a grant. So, yeah, just having that kind of anticipation and future look at what grants we could be applying for, and then just letting the council know that, grants are getting applied for and what they involve. And if anybody has any questions, they can, talk to you further, so. So, any other questions? Okay, I have a suggested, motion language.
I move to adopt resolution 2025-38.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilor Ramsayer and a second from Councilor Hanley to adopt resolution 2025-38. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote nay. Motion passes. All right.
Me again.
Yep.
Relatively brief, council report this evening. Got a couple of upcoming events that I want to highlight. The first is this Friday from 6 to 9 p.m. at Mountain Pizza. The library is doing their bingo night for fundraising for the mobile library. So if you're available and want to play some bingo, you know where to go on Friday. We also have the teen flashlight and candy hunt at 7:30 on Friday, so that's just right around the corner as well. And then next week we have an economic development advisory board meeting on Wednesday. It's been a little bit of a hiatus for that board, but we're bringing it back next week. I think the exciting thing about this upcoming meeting is we're going to be talking about some of the proposed grant programs that John Lagarza, our economic development consultant, has sort of crafted or come up with. I want to get some feedback from the Economic Development Advisory Board, get their perspective on those, and then we'll be bringing those to the council on November 3rd. Is that right? Is that right? Yes, November 3rd. So I'm looking forward to getting some feedback from that group and advancing some new and creative funding opportunities to ensure that we're able to, help local businesses develop plans, and if they just need that little bit of extra funding to get their product over the finish line, hopefully provide some of that support. We already have some of that, work in place. We previously had the facade improvement grants and tenant improvement grants in the urban renewal agency. Holy moly, I'm blurring all my words together. But we kind of took a pause on many of those grant programs to make sure that what we were doing in the future is actually what our businesses need in order to be successful, and not just redoing the same sort of grant program over and over and over again. So John Lagarza will be in attendance next Wednesday at that Economic Development Advisory Board meeting. We'll go over those programs and then bring them back to the council for further discussion.
For the urban renewal.
I'm sorry, thank you, urban renewal. Which is scheduled for November 3rd at 6 p.m. So we'll start that day with an urban renewal meeting and talk about funding options and funding programs. I think that's all I have this evening. Parks and Recreation Director interviews are tomorrow. So excited to fill that position, hopefully very quickly.
How many applications or how many people are you interviewing?
We're interviewing 3 tomorrow. We had quite a bit of interest. Angie Welty, our HR director, and myself did some preliminary interviews and then got that number down to 3. And so we'll be doing 3 interviews tomorrow. And then depending on, how that process goes, potentially narrowing down that number to 2, and then doing sort of a one-on-one with the city manager and a meet and greet with the department staff, just to kind of get a feel for all the services we provide, walk through the community center, maybe walk through a park with me and just kind of have some casual conversation. So step 2 is a little bit in flux until I know exactly how tomorrow goes, but we have more than, just a clear front runner. We'll do a second step and do that later this week or early next week.
Thank you.
I'm seconding the books, bingos and brews, and I brought you all a flyer for the fundraiser. We'll pass those down, going both ways, guys. Mountain Festival, there's a walkthrough with some city staff coming up on the 31st.
31st, yep.
31st, so walk through mining, just to go over with them some of the changes they're gonna see and answer some of those questions. Thank you for setting that up. That's been really important to them.
We also invited the Kiwanis, just because they've been such an anchor during Mountain Festival and kind of have their normal setups. We wanted to make sure that those two organizations had an opportunity to see what we're proposing to modify and improve and make sure that we answer any questions. So don't mean to interrupt you, but just wanted to
Brilliant, thank you.
add that note.
Thank you. Chamber of Commerce, the trick or treat trail is coming up this for Saturday from, now I can't think of the time, 2 to 4, from 2 to 4. That's gonna be very exciting. And then I've heard some great feedback on Deer Point Park from folks in the community, just driving by and saying, number one, it looks stunning, and the pathway, the sidewalk pathway going through is gorgeous, and yeah, there's been real excitement about that park. So thanks for everyone who has really worked to make that happen. That's it.
Alrighty, I have planning commission next Monday. I do not recall what's on the agenda. But I will report back at our meeting on the 3rd, what we do. I did, attend the, Regional Water Providers Consortium last week. I think it was a little bit of an off week, the meeting, because, Rebecca Geisen, is retiring after 26 years. So it was a lot of background on her and all the work she's done and all the time she's put into the Water Bureau, and her contribution sounded really, really beneficial to everybody. They did go over the 26-27 carryover funding, and they have some ideas on where to spend the overages. I'm assuming the next meeting in January will be a little more focused on the meat of what the consortium does. There were, I believe I saw 19 attendants. Ryan from Water, Ryan Wood, was in attendance on Zoom with me. And so it was a really, they do their meetings really interesting. And so I'm sure there will be more information, and once I get more into it and more with the lingo, it'll be a little bit easier for me to kind of convey a more sensical message to all of you. Deer Point Park, I drove by. Looks totally different than it did. The path is really cool. It reminded me of the Wizard of Oz, Yellow Brick Road. But I'm really looking forward to the community getting use of that park and all the work that's gone into it. So I think that's all I have.
I don't have much. Everything comes at the end of the month for me, so I get busy end of the month. Real quick though, when does Deer Park, when was that projected to open? I totally meant to ask.
Yeah, so weather dependent, right? If we have some continued massive rains that delay, anything like that, it might trickle out into 2026 by a couple weeks, but it should be done by the end of this calendar year.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't have
Do
anything.
you have, are you gonna go to C24? Is that?
That's
October
November 26th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are you gonna go to that?
Yeah. Whatever, but yeah.
Okay, very good.
I had the wastewater council meeting, which we just saw what I saw in that meeting. We went through the IGA at that time. Then the other meeting I was scheduled for but did not go was the Mount Hood Economic Alliance, solely because it was at 9 a.m. in the morning and I was in a meeting, so I could not attend it. But it was over financial review and reappointment of 3 members, so they got a handle without me. So that's all I got.
On that note, there, Mr. Gambino applied for a county economic development grant for, was it 100,000?
Yes.
They applied for, yeah. So, because we wrote a letter of support for it.
Yeah,
So
perfect.
that's, there's, yeah, and we'll talk more about it at the economic development meeting, but there's a lot of different grants out there, but the one you're associated with is, really part of that too, and we're trying to kind of
Rearrange
get,
too.
trying to get everybody, a lot of the local businesses to come to a meeting and kind of have representatives from all these different groups there to talk to the.
Yeah, everybody that we've done loans for so far has really been the outstretch of Eastern Oregon. I
Right.
haven't seen anybody from the local, but I'm
Well,
looking
it's-
forward
I
to.
think it's just sometimes they don't know it's available.
No,
You know, there's just more grants out there than you can even imagine. So, I just happened to see the one and sent a message about, an opportunity there, so good.
Perfect.
Great, well, any other? No, great. Mike, don't have too many things. I met with the auditor, for the interview. We have a great record of awards and on our fiscal transparency and responsibility in our finance department, so I'm assuming that's gonna continue, but she just interviewed me on different aspects of it. I have a congratulations to the Parks Department on their Oregon Recreation and Parks Association award that they got in Eugene last week. We met with Counselor Henley, Tyler and Jeff and I, just to talk about opportunities for possibilities of doing some heritage projects, possibly forming a committee in the future. And just, that's one of our city goals. And so we had a good discussion and a lot of cool opportunities out there to kind of pursue. And so Lindy's going to help us kind of focus on some of those opportunities. The last thing was I did not make it to the council or the county library board task force that I'm part of. I missed that last meeting. But they did, we kind of had done all the work before then. The final survey that everybody, a lot of folks took was that there was consensus about allowing directing staff to propose an amendment to our IGA for the county district to clarify use of district funds for capital expenses and allocated costs. So that's going to move forward, working with the existing library district governance and also the library task force to kind of refine any of that. And then, of course, that has to get reviewed by all the cities, but we think that's going to move forward without any additional strife there. So the second part of it was a little bit more watered down, but the recommendation is to direct staff to initiate the creation of a strategic framework for the district that would prepare it for its 20th year of service and beyond. The considerations are that they plan to hire a consultant to work on creating the framework, including a systems plan and economic feasibility study, which I assume might be looking at a possible future bond to replace the existing district bond. Incorporating strategic planning efforts of the library directors and engaging cities and unincorporated areas to plan for their library service areas. They're also going to be looking at existing library governance in the task force to incorporate external stakeholders as appropriate. I'm just reading off this, retain our task force as a steering committee to advise on the work undertaken to implement this recommendation. And so I think what that all kind of also includes is just that looking at that fairness equity issue about how much money the different cities get for their funding for their library districts. And again, we're not the lowest out there, but we're down there in the bottom four, I think. And so having some more equity, if not now, at least in the future, is something that I'm hopeful that this group can proceed with. So that was the outcome of the Summers Library District Task Force.
Just out of curiosity, is there any discussion of what that would look like if the county got out of it and it just went down to the local level or anything like that? As far as what that looks like for individual communities and just.
What's the challenges is all the unincorporated areas. The cities couldn't tax the unincorporated areas. That's kind of already the problem because so when, Milwaukee was building their new library, they did a bond, but they could only do a bond for the city itself. And all the unincorporated area that uses the library, those residents didn't have to pay for it. And so that kind of disparity, hopeful, I think if there was to go with another bond in the future or something like that to kind of reform the district, I would be recommending some sort of option where there's a part of the district funds go into a pot where the different cities can use that money for expansion or construction of their library facilities. But yeah, putting it all back on the cities just, furthers the problem of the cities having to pay for, you know,
Disparity between.
get everybody else getting the milk for free kind of thing.
Or putting it, or I mean, that, or just getting rid of the district so that you don't have, I mean, just one option, right?
Mhm.
Is that the county gets back into the library business for servicing the county residents and the city service the city residents.
But all the folks around here would be going to our cities.
Not if it was an out of the city thing. You see what I'm saying?
You mean you wouldn't let them in the door, or they wouldn't be allowed to check out books?
Just
or-
no resident, there's resident and no resident fees and just like that. I mean,
Yeah.
as far as like. Just really truly making it so that you manage your own, and not because essentially right now it's. The county is taking that and putting their problem into the city's pockets, and in some ways that benefits some cities, in some ways it doesn't. But I'm just curious if there was ever a cost analysis of what that would look like if the
Mhm.
county, again, service the county residents. Maybe it's running Hoodland for Hoodland and Sandy choosing to see if we would have our own internal mechanism for that. No thoughts of that
Yeah.
or what that would look like?
Like the Oak, you know, they built an Oak Grove Library and Gladstone, is that the other one? Yeah. And they are now taking over management of that. Gladstone and Oak Fork.
The county
Oak Grove,
is?
Yeah. And so, you know, I don't quite understand, you know, how, I mean, the money that they were already, that's, you know, that's collected in there, according to the formula, is what they're able to use for that, so. You know, could that be done at Hoodland? I suppose so, I don't know. I would imagine that the cost that the county has for running the library at Hoodland would be a lot more expensive than, you know, as far as the hours and services you get up there. I think we do a pretty efficient job of it.
They wouldn't be sharing any funds if they had a program like that. Because they would be only worried about their libraries, not city libraries.
Right, but the reality, let me tell you, the reality is that everybody can, I mean, I check out books from Multnomah County and Clackamas County. It's under the Libby system and all, I mean, you know, everybody's able to use this huge link network.
Right?
And so, already, many of the Hoodland people come down to Sandy to pick up their, you know, they're going to work and the library's closed by the time they get up to the mountain. So they pick up their books to the Sandy Library. So it's, you know, kind of, we kind of looked at that, but then, you know, be careful what you wish for, because then, you know, the money would go away, but we'd still have all the people and having to provide service for them. And you can't really charge them a service fee because they're already paying a library tax, a county district tax.
Well, I understand
Yeah.
the point that they're paying the tax, but
Right.
if they weren't, if the tax area was restructured, then they wouldn't be paying the tax to the city of Sandy, therefore the service wouldn't be available.
But since we don't charge by the people that come in, you know,
Because we have the tax, so. Because there's a district tax is why we don't.
I don't think you
Right,
charge
right.
anybody at a library.
Huh?
I don't think you charge anybody in a library.
The taxpayer pays it. Like, you don't actually charge the person as they're
Right,
coming
right.
in. But,
it's just how do you know, if we're having to serve all these people, but we're not getting their share of the county tax base, that's, you know, putting us
Yeah,
further.
but that's what he was just, I think you were
Oh,
hypothetically
restructuring.
suggesting.
Yes, I'm saying-
Restructuring, they don't come to Sandy anymore.
Yeah.
have we looked at like how that would hurt or benefit the cities? Like, is this pooling of the money truly in everybody's best interest?
Well, I think the hard part is that the resources are already pooled. The books, you can go get a book from any library with a Sandy library card. So,
In Clackamas County? Or
and
Yeah, we don't
more.
have the inventory to have that same book at every library across
We
every
don't have the
city and
space.
county,
We
right?
don't
Or
have
the
the space
space.
for the collection.
Yeah.
So that's why the network
Yeah.
was built, so that you could intermingle within it.
And so when I was complaining about how much money Lake Oswego got compared to the other cities, they said, well, they sure buy a lot of books that we are able to get because of that, so. It's
That's fair.
it's
Okay.
a complex, I think there is more that we could be doing with equity with the city allocation, which would be a great benefit to Sandy.
And we'd be happy to buy the books.
Yeah. right. But, you know, they're saying that, you know, technically that money gets collected in Lake Oswego and should stay in Lake Oswego. And my point was like, well, that's as if we had a city, you know, that would be appropriate if we all had a little
That's my
city
point.
library
That's
district.
exactly my point.
You know, so, because that's what it is now, is that Sandy's only getting the assessed valuation share of the, even though, what is it, we get 34 cents per person. But we're paying like, you know, it's apples and oranges, we're paying like 39 cents per thousand, not like, everybody's paying the same rate, 39 cents per thousand, but. You know, and obviously, you know, the richer enclaves with higher assessed valuation are collecting more money, and so, anyway, I think that is gonna be looked at in this strategic plan, and the other thing that's gonna be looked at is where are people, you know, the service areas, they have these service area districts, is that really accurate? Like, is a lot of the Hoodland people actually using the Sandy Library? We'll find that out, we're gonna be doing that kind
And
of.
we see all the cards are linked to home addresses, so you can be able to geo map the people that are picking up from
Mhm.
a location
Yeah.
and where they live.
Yeah, they
All
haven't
more
done that, but
info.
that's kind of part of the strategic plan of kind of looking at that analysis. There was so much of that stuff that really we didn't have in the old days with GIS and
Right,
all
in the
that.
80s,
So we
right.
can do more analysis of kind of things. So hopefully that's all gonna come out in the strategic plan. And a lot of those folks do want to see a higher rate, a new bond issued. I think, it'll be interesting to see how the November ballot measures go and how much support there is for that, but, I think the worst case scenario for that, if they do proceed to go with the bond at some point in the future, and it'd be a couple of years out at least to give folks time, but, the downside is that if it failed, you would still have the 39-cent existing district. You wouldn't just get rid of it, so. But how does that, what does that bond look like, if anything? You have a better handle on all that than I do.
Well, I think, the library district is a tricky conversation. Some of the points that have been made are very accurate in that, the network works because everyone can kind of pool their resources, and I can buy 100 books and you can buy 100 books, and now we have 200 books to share, and, we're simplifying, right? But I mean, that's really like what's happening behind the scenes. Sandy's service area, though, is massive relative to city limits, and so I was just trying to pull up the distribution allocation. We would lose, if we were just going on city boundary alone, lose about 2/3 of our funding to the library if we were only collecting our portion from inside city limits. Just because the service area is so large, and so our library certainly could not function, just at, quick glance at the numbers, couldn't function and operate in any sort of meaningful way like it does today without those unincorporated population property tax dollars coming in. So, I don't know what's been discussed in those task force meetings beyond what I've heard, and I haven't heard, that topic of exploring kind of the re-exploring city libraries and whether the network or district itself works any longer or not, but
Or is the city I guess the bigger thing is the city management, the best management for a county district? I guess that's really where
Yeah.
I'm trying to go,
yeah.
is that. It doesn't really matter how it's structured. I feel like, the city, like, we are supplementing to a substantial rate. The city is supplementing the library. And I realize our district's different, but maybe that's a business. I'm not saying the library should go away, but maybe it's
Yeah.
something that shouldn't be a city infrastructure piece. It should be a county infrastructure piece, given the way our funding structures are set up.
Yeah, I mean, Multnomah County is a district in concept similar to Clackamas County, right? But those Multnomah County libraries are not managed by individual cities, largely because there's not a whole lot of cities in Multnomah County, so it wouldn't really work out the same way it does in Clackamas County. But I mean, to your point, that sort of concept exists just down the road, right? Where you have the district managing and owning all the infrastructure and everything.
Same thing with the Parks District. You have Parks Districts that have their own internal board, their own collection systems and all of that.
Yeah.
I don't understand to a degree why the libraries couldn't operate similar to like a recreation district.
I mean, I think the original intent was for cities to keep sort of the ownership of their own library, right? And that, you know, people love their library and ours is loved in our community. And so I think having that ownership historically is why it was set up the way that it was. I think beyond that, you have the whole building infrastructure component. You know, the cities operated their own libraries, the cities bought those buildings or built those buildings, and now does the county, under this, you know, scenario, right, does the county buy those buildings from each individual city and own them, you know, as part of the district? Do the cities rent the libraries to the county? For, you know, each individual library? So I mean, I think there's a lot more to unpack, but it's a valid question. And I don't know if that's been explored in any serious, you know, thought or not.
I'm saying even more like a recreation district where it has its own governing board and everything like that.
Do we know our usage
Separate.
rate in our library?
What's that?
A usage rate in our library, like how many Sandy residents actually use the library?
We have,
From the-
I can get you that. They have all sorts of data sheets that they hand out. It's really amazing. They keep track of everything. And they have these little, quarterly sheets that talk about how many people check this stuff out and that stuff out and all that.
I'm curious to how that compares to the folks that live outside of the city that use that library and what that comparison looks like. Are residents using it 30-70 or is it 50-50 or is it 70-30? You know, what's that, kind of that matrix?
I know for the unincorporated people outside of Sandy, our funding is 54 cents per person outside the city. And inside the city, it's 34 cents. So we get,
1,000.
yeah, and that's because of the formula. And so, you know, the folks that are outside the city say, well, you should appreciate the fact that we're, you know, bringing you
Using
extra
you.
money and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, well, you know, we're all paying the same rate here. So I mean, I do appreciate it, but I also find that I don't think, you know, it's just a hard thing to wrap around. I will kind of push back a little bit on the recreation district stuff though, because when I've done a lot of research on recreation districts around Oregon, and, you know, for example, City of Redmond, you know, they have a City of Redmond Parks Department and they have a City of Redmond Parks and Rec District. And there is so much overlap in stuff, but you know, as to who owns what and who's responsible and double the vehicles and double the this. And so that's where, you know, if I'm not kind of one suggestion or one more efficient aspect to that is doing it like the library district where everybody in the, you know, a Sandy area Parks and Rec district would pay taxes and then the city would actually manage the district, just like they do the library. Because as I said, you know, you're gonna get a whole lot more for your money if you don't have a whole separate, you know, because they have to get their own buildings and get their own financial folks and their own, you know,
Are there funds coming from the same place though?
what's that?
Are the funds for the recreation district
District.
and the park district getting their income?
Well, the Parks
from the
District
tax
in Redmond
base.
are coming from the city residents. And the Parks District, which is a much larger area, is getting it from a much larger area. And so, and you know, and so the Parks District runs the pool, but you know, these people run these parks, these people run the, you know, it's not very efficient. And so having, you know, and the fact is that, you know, you really need that Parks and Rec District to kind of have ownership of all those parks and trails. And there was a lot of pushback about of the city of Sandy giving that up the last time they considered doing a parks district. They're like, well, we could give them this, but we wouldn't give them Minot Park and we wouldn't give them Tickle Creek Trail. And, you know, I'm like, well, you can't have
Right,
two
yeah,
entities,
one
you
or
know,
the
it's-
other, right?
and so in my mind, it's more efficient if you have, you know, the city that is already providing the services, already has all the equipment and stuff. And just have the tax collection for a larger area so that all those people that are using our parks for free are paying into it, you know, and if they want more sports complex or something like that, they're gonna pay for it. That's my 2 cents on the whole thought about it. I mean, I can see the library kind of being a little bit different, but for Parks and Rec District, I just wouldn't advise us having, you know, trying to keep some of the Parks and Recreation stuff in the city and then having a district do the rest of it. It's just not efficient.
Can I ask a follow-up question? So, were you, Counselor Sheldon, looking to get the split between resident and non-resident usage right now? Is that what I heard you ask? Was that?
Chris asked
Is that,
that.
okay.
Yeah.
We can, I don't have those numbers handy, but we can dig into those. What I do have handy is just the volume of use in total that our library has, which is through the roof. I mean, 146,000 visits last fiscal year. That's
Yeah, see,
It's a lot.
and I'm just curious, we always hear about how much the library is loved, and I'm not saying it's not.
Yeah.
Or it is, I'm just saying. And we always hear about how much outside city limits is using it. I'm just, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Is it 50-50? Is it
Yeah.
70-30? What does that mean?
yeah, we
so
can,
Of those 146,000 visits, how many of those were city residents and how many were outside?
we can try to
Yeah.
arrive at that number.
The
It will
harder
take
part
some
is
digging,
like,
but
you
we
know,
can-
I get books all the time and hardly ever, you know, I go to the library sometimes, but. You know, I get books all week long through Libby, so I get them ebooks or audiobooks. So I never step foot in the library, so they wouldn't see me as a visitor, but I use it all the time.
Right.
And
But
so
that's all tracked as well.
Huh?
That
But
is
that's
all
tracked.
tracked as well.
It is tracked electronically, but yeah. So, cause as far as how many ebooks and everything were checked out, yeah, they could do that,
But that doesn't count in the usage number you just gave, them,
right, yeah.
right?
They're two different numbers and one's gonna be much larger.
Yeah, the number I just gave you was visits. That's
Yeah.
like people walking.
That's what,
through the
and that's what
Yeah.
I'm more interested in.
Yeah, we can do some filtering with that data and try to figure out what the usage is. My shameless plug also, we have continually worked on reducing the amount of general revenue that we're allocating to the library. So
Good job.
I was.
Sorry to derail us tonight.
We're working on that, trying to make them self-sufficient.
I just paid my water bill, so I'm in a real fiscal responsibility.
Fair point.
What if you want to go support it?
A little brown the other day, but I
'cause the
drove
rain.
past it.
So
All
this,
right.
this makes, I have one more question, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
The other night, I was sitting at home and me and my girlfriend got hungry. And she said, let's go to Panda. And I got to Panda and there were lines out the door.
Mhm.
And my order that said to be ready in 15 minutes would be 45 minutes. And she goes inside and then she comes back into my window and she says, hey, they're doing a fundraiser event here. And we're gonna have to wait. What is that? Is it school fundraising?
That's what this
Was
is.
it Monday?
Is that what this
So
is?
what Monday was Boring Middle
Oh,
School's
yeah.
fundraiser.
Yeah.
So they get 10% or whatever percentage, but
Okay.
you have to have a code when you order the meal. You have to say it's code 67
For them.
exactly, and then that 10% gets set aside.
I just want to know if we were doing that for Sandy and how often, because I
Yes.
don't know.
Yeah,
about
We
it.
had
that's
done
what
that.
this is here.
Okay,
We had done that at Panda, Brady's Brats,
Chipotle,
Dairy Queen,
Scooters.
Chipotle, Scooters,
Rendezvous.
Rendezvous, thank you. I think there's another one that I'm forgetting now.
Been there for a while. But they should, I mean, I hope that they're just standing outside the door and handing these to everybody that goes in. Cause you know,
It
Right,
says you have
right.
to mention the code or mention the
Some-
Facebook thing or blah, blah.
There
blah.
were some partners that we had that it was just X% of total sales for the night. You don't need a code, right? They just
Yeah,
20%, whatever the number was. There were others that required a code. And either that information was either publicized on Facebook or in the newsletter, or they have those handouts at the library. We have them here at City Hall as well, so we were trying to peddle them as much as possible during normal business hours. Maybe I should say our fundraiser is peddling paper, but we're trying to push that information out as much as possible.
But those restaurant fundraisers were 1425.33 for the library is what they gained. $1,425.33.
yeah. I think
Every dollar
it was
helps.
Friday when I went,
yeah.
It was Friday.
Friday.
Maybe Friday was boring. Maybe Friday was boring.
Anyway, but that's what this is, right? And
Yes.
it's,
for the.
and this supports the library.
It
Yeah.
supports the library.
Perfect, that's.
Yeah.
Where would I find those, where I was going to, where would I find more of these at? The dates and the times of those things happening.
You have some
In our
extras there, right?
community.
For all community
Yes,
events,
for all things that support our community,
Yeah.
not the boring one.
I
No
don't
offense.
think that we have a consolidated list of like all community fundraisers. I mean, I have things that benefit the city, right? If we have a partnership with, a local business for parks and recreation purposes or library purposes, but I think the fundraisers are kind of like each organization dependent. Occasionally I'll see something from the school district or like a booster club or a sports team or something that pops up on.
Yeah, and without a kid in
Line,
school,
but-
I'm never hearing about those.
Yeah.
So, Okay, well, there's no universal
Our
place.
city,
Fine.
Facebook page and Instagram page, publicize them, but it's.
The cities,
Some folks says ours.
Or,
Yes,
yes,
And,
the
and do we
cities.
have it on our calendar?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
thank you.
Hey, since we're on the topic of libraries, just one quick thing. We should be hearing back over the next 3-ish weeks on a couple of the grants that we applied for the mobile library.
Uh-huh.
So no information to share tonight, but just wanted to let you know that
Cool.
we should know sort of mid-November if we were awarded any additional grant funding or how much we were awarded, hopefully, is a better way to frame that. And then the vehicle is about ready to be acquired, so it should be in city limits end of the year.
Okay, good. Fantastic. All right, anybody else for the good of the order? Let's hope we get us out at 8:30. It was 8:15. I was like, oh, this could be no problem. All right. Thank you, guys.